reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're logging into your favorite game, grinding out some gear. A couple of points added to your stats, and you have a virtual beer. Max level is pretty cool, but I'll remind you here, my friend. These games are not about the goal, it's about the journey and not the end.
You're listening to MMO Reporter, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of MMO Reporter. This is episode 292. I'm Chris, and I'm joined as ever by the ever so affable, ever so effervescent, ever so wonderful Mr. at MMO Bill. Hello, Bill.
Good evening. Welcome back to reality. Snap back to reality.
Isn't that a song?
See, that's where you're supposed to say, whoop, there goes gravity.
Oh, see? I'm sorry.
It's been too long.
It has been too long. Bill, hey, how's it going?
A few weeks ago, you would have knocked that out of the park.
I would have, but unfortunately, I've been busy, waving my arm around like a madman.
A lot of tough counting to 4.
Over and over again. That's what I do for a living. Don't ask me about math questions. That's hard, but my grammar is gooder than yours.
Yeah, it's the goodest.
Exactly. You get it. You understand. Yep. Thank you, Bill. We are back. Thank you for being patient with us as we've been going through the busy time of the year. It always is. April, May, end of March, April, and beginning of May is always incredibly busy for me and for you too, Bill. Life gets in the way, but we're happy to be back. We want to talk games, don't we?
Yes, let's. I've spent too much time in the last month talking about real life. Let's talk about games. Let's talk about all those god dang games that I haven't played.
But you have been playing some games, haven't you, Bill?
I've been playing a few. Are you going to ask me what games they were?
Hey, Bill, what games have you been playing this week?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. So I jumped on Guild Wars 2. So this time I wouldn't say I'm ahead of the curve, but I'm not wildly behind the curve when it comes to being up with the story. So I've been playing episode 5, enjoying the first completely enclosed new zone for the Guild Wars 2 living story. We're inside a volcano.
I know. It's exciting.
If you don't know it's in a volcano by now, people, then I'm sorry. But not really.
You're not sorry at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's very good. Like the story, actually, it was kind of interesting. Guild Wars 2 had a game of the day or the daily game discussion thread on /r gaming on Reddit.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago, and I saw a few people were speaking about it, making posts, and it was pretty good. There was some honest critiques, which were very accurate. They made some good points that I think it broke a few assumptions about the game that people thought were there from 3 or 4 years ago and aren't now.
Right.
But one of the things that was really mentioned is talking about the story and the living story and how that's really kind of stabilized, gotten a much better over the last year or so, and how it really identified it, clarified it for me. The story is fairly cheesy. Like it is. But it's not like roll your eyes cheesy. Like it's very tropey. The good guys are very good. The bad guys are very bad and bent on destroying the universe and everything like that. But they throw enough twists in there that it's not just follow the lawful good path and get there.
Right.
Like there's the characters are getting enough personality to them that you can you can't always assume everything they're going to do. You can't always catch every single twist that happens. A lot of them seem very obvious after the fact, which, geez, that's kind of like life. But for the most part, there's just enough curveballs in there to keep it interesting, but it's still a fairly tropey, cheesy story to kind of get through if you're in the mood for that tropey, cheesy story. It's not going to be the gritty, edgy, dark, nasty story that you get from watching, I don't know, like Game of Thrones, or if you're getting into American Gods or that kind of thing. Right. I don't think there's an MMO on the planet that's ever gotten that deep and nasty and dark and unpredictable. Right. So anyway, Guild Wars 2, good story. Check out that thread. It'll be in the archives in our gaming if you're interested.
But let's talk. Just take a quick second here and talk a little bit about it. I don't want to go spoilers because no spoilers, thank you. But I do want to mention a couple things about it. First off, if that's okay.
I'm gonna beat you because this is my time. It's my time.
It's your time. Your time.
Spider-Manning is awesome, right?
Yes.
Do you have that mastery yet?
I don't. I did it in the demo that I got to play before the launch. So good for finding all the little nooks and crannies. I watched Wooden Potatoes actually do a run through of the jumping puzzle, and it was a very critical piece of that. But it's so fun. It's got amazing range on it. You can go flying across the map. You can get to cool places. It's such a neat. It's a trick. It's definitely a gimmick. Like, they're not changing the game with this mastery, and it doesn't fit into the rest of the world. And they've already said that the amount of work that they'd have to do to make it work everywhere is pretty significant. So I'm not expecting to see it everywhere else in the world. But even just in that zone, to be able to zip around, because it is such a vertical zone too. It's only 3 layers, which is not as many as some maps out there, but each layer is gigantic, and it is such a big map that it's having a travel ability like that. So pardon me, for the people who don't know, Spider-Manning and mastery. So in Guild Wars 2, every time they release a new story chapter, they add what's called a mastery. And after you have to earn mastery points by playing the game and like discovering areas and completing achievements and stuff like that, as well as filling your experience bar. You get enough points to train the mastery for that zone. And sometimes it's a mastery that's usable everywhere. Sometimes it's specific to just the zone that was added in that story quest. But it's always a little bit different. So this one, the mastery that you earn is the ability to, after you pick up a certain node that's lying all over the place in the zone, you can shoot a vine out of your hand, like a Spider-Man web, have it attached to a rock wall face, and then yank yourself up to that rock wall face. And when you combine that with the ability to glide in Guild Wars 2, you could do some pretty fun tricks. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The other thing, too, I wanted to talk about, without mentioning anything, is it is in the first instance, so if you do play through this, you'll get a chance to see it, but the big reveal about the big bad. I was not expecting that. Again, I'm not spoiling. I'm not going to say what the reveal is, but I do have to say I was quite surprised with what that reveal was.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually did expect it, and I don't really understand why. Like, I know I won't spoil it either because we don't need to, like, but it wasn't that obscure. And I think if you sat down and thought about it, or if you were as deep into the lore as some of the more serious Guild Wars 2 podcasts are out there, you might have come to that conclusion. But yeah. I mean, to me, the whole story is fairly off the wall. Like, it's like this is not the kind of thing that a normal human would deduce. Yeah, and this is one of those things where they like I said, they take that left turn that's just enough to keep you guessing.
Yeah, I did not see it coming, and it really surprised me. It's
nice that they got it out of the way in like the first 15 minutes too.
Yeah.
Like they've been hyping it up, they've been hyping this reveal, and they didn't bury it behind 10-15 hours of other gameplay.
Right.
You actually got some satisfaction right away, and then the story is still compelling after that.
And
like it's not like it's just, oh, here's our reveal, the end, good night. They actually answered it. It's kind of like, do you remember watching Lost way back in the day? And every episode would just end on this most awful, horrible cliffhanger. And this was back in the day when scheduled television was the thing, and they'd be teasing the new episode of Lost every week. Everybody would be dying to find out what would happen. And they would answer the question within the first 5 minutes of the next episode.
Yeah.
And then the episode will lull, and then it would build up tension, build tension, build tension, build tension, and then slam, end of the show. Screw you, see you next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I feel they're doing here.
Yeah. So we talked about the reveal. We talked about the big bad. I love, like you mentioned, the interior, the new zone, the fire theme, all that sort of stuff. The hearts are fun. I didn't get a chance to do all of them. I also know that there's more secrets sprinkled throughout this particular map. I'm not going to talk about anything right now because I don't want to wreck anything for anyone, but don't think that all the secrets are out of the bag in the first instance. So that's kind of exciting. So another, I think, a really solid continuation of the story. A really solid content update by ArenaNet with this new penultimate.
Yes, that's the
season.
other key point.
The episode.
Because we've been away for a couple of weeks, we haven't talked about this yet.
Right. So do you want to mention it?
I do, because it's my time. Damn it, it's my time.
Okay, go.
So that was what came out. So ArenaNet is now getting into a very predictable habit of having an AMA on Reddit after every patch release. So in this one, they clarified that yes, there's going to be 6 episodes in this Living Story season, of which what they just released was episode 5. So the next episode will be the final one of the season, and they also confirmed that since that's the final one of the season, before the expansion. Oh wait, what? An expansion? So they didn't announce an expansion, but they basically said that yes, we're going to keep our release cadence. Yes, this is the second to last episode. Yes, the next episode is going to be on our normal release cycle, and yes, we're going to be releasing something on our normal release cycle after that episode.
So
if this season's over and they don't start new seasons until they've released an expansion, like, this is math I can do.
Yeah, we're about 6 at top 6 months out, right?
Well, we should be seeing, so I expect if episode 6 or the closing episode might be, let's say, even just a slightly bit bigger than the rest, I would expect we're probably looking at probably a 3-month cycle for this release. And after that, so that puts us into what, August? And then we're getting for them to release the expansion after that. September, October, in November. That's roughly about the time that Heart of Thorns landed.
Yeah, November, December. That's a good time.
I think that's what we're seeing. Now, unfortunately, people look at that and say, wait a sec, we're only getting one more release between now and November? Well, yeah. But anyway, it's kind of interesting because right now the expansion is wide open. Now, there's been leaks on the internet, which I've studiously avoided, and I actually don't know what's in them. So in my mind, the expansion's wide open and it could go anywhere. I have no idea what it's going to entail, where they're going to go geographically, where they're going to go story-wise, where they're going to go mechanics-wise. None of that is out there unless you've been consuming all those leaks. And that was kind of a personal choice that I made, that I decided that no, I don't want to consume the leaks because it kind of spoils the hype game and everything like that, which I think a lot of people enjoy to begin with. And B, I think we're far out enough that at least a lot of the leaks, even if they are accurate, could change wildly between now and the time that they're actually ready to announce them. So you're spoiling your hype, and you might even be consuming wrong information at this point.
Yeah,
So
well,
what's the point?
Here's the thing. There have been leaks. There was an article over on Massively the other day that had a picture of some new map stuff that was there. So there's been some leaks out there, some data mining, and people have been hungry for all this information. So be careful if you do not want to be spoiled. There is spoilers everywhere. So,
and it's a little unfortunate. Now, the data mining stuff, that's sort of expected. Like, Guild Wars 2 has a very long history of being data mined. And that underscore Shaman on the Guild Wars 2 subreddit has actually been really good about that. Because he clearly has an aptitude for getting into the data files of the game and pulling out all the relevant details and sharing them, but also not doing it in a way that's kind of like, haha, I'm spoiling all your secrets here.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, if the devs are actually dropping those resources into the game, they have to know that 5 years in that Shaman or someone else is going to find it and show it to everyone. So that I don't feel as bad about in terms of leaks coming out. It's the other speculative stuff that says, oh, I got this official list that says this, and this, which could be real. It could be fake, could be somebody just making really good educated guesses. We don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's good discussion about Guild Wars 2. What else have you been playing?
I've been playing World of Warcraft, but only just barely.
Oh, really?
I'm burning out on it pretty hard, I think.
Oh, really?
All things considered, that I was really invested in World of Warcraft for 7 months, 8 months after the expansion. Like I definitely got my money's worth.
Yeah.
I think it was a good investment. I'm happy with the time in there, but I'm ready to kind of go into autopilot on it. Maybe wait till 7.25 comes out. Maybe that'll be a bit of a burst. But between getting kind of rekindled in Guild Wars 2 and kind of wanting to try something new, like, I don't know, maybe Fishing Planet. Oh, you think I'm kidding? There's an MMO called Fishing Planet.
I know. I've played it.
It's sitting there on my desktop, just ready to go. I want to play it.
Well,
I want to play it right now.
We don't all make great life choices.
That is a great life choice. Going fishing is never a bad life choice.
You know what's a great life choice, Bill? You want to know what's a great life choice? Playing some ESO. That is a great life choice, and that is what I have been doing in game for the last little while. Actually,
Chris, what have you been doing in game? Oh wait, it stole my thunder.
I did.
Trying to steal my time. Then you're trying to steal my segues. You're just a podcast thief, Chris.
I am. I would use another word, but again, it's before 9 o'clock, so we want to keep it clean here. So yeah, I've been playing ESO to get back into the game, not necessarily because I'm getting my character ready or anything like that, but because I'm going to start a new character with the Morrowind expansion. I'm going to play a warden, but I wanted to be used to the game so I don't jump in and have no idea what I'm doing or any of the mechanics of the game or the economy or anything like that. So
if this was a video podcast, my hand would be going up in the air.
Yes.
Just described me.
So I've been jumping back into ESO and streaming that. So that's going to be Saturday and Sunday mornings for me, nice and early. So follow us on Twitch or YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, and you can get whenever I go live with that. Like you, I've been playing WoW. I'm a little bit more into it. I tend to do my Broken Shore dailies almost every day. I really want to get my artifact power up. And that's sort of my goal right now is to get that artifact power up with that. And I've been having a lot of fun flying around. It makes it so much easier to do anything to fly. So that was nice. And this is the first expansion in which I've had flying. I didn't get it in Warlords. And before Warlords, I didn't really play any expansion to max level. I didn't play Cataclysm to max level. I didn't play Pandaria to max level. I got them all. I played them for a bit, but I didn't really dig into it until Warlords. And so That's sort of been that. And last but not least, Lotro. Wow. Standing Stone Games really knocked it out of the park with Update 20, with the Battle for Blackgate. I'm going through that instance content right now, and that battle is fun. Like, I'm really enjoying that. The only thing that bugs me with, some of the more modern MMOs is the time to kill in Lotro is still quite high. I'm not very awesomely geared. Like, I've got okay gear. I've got level appropriate gear. It's not like I'm at max level and I have gear that's 10 levels before me, but I don't have the best essences or the best in slot or anything like that. I haven't been doing enough instance content to do that. But the time to kill kind of, especially with a warden, and I go for survivability all the time, so I'm slow to kill anything. But that being said, they've got a cave troll.
Like, wardens have always been a bit tricky with time to kill because they like, if you get your pattern just so, you can burn through a lot of things really fast, especially if you're fighting a lot of things at once.
Yes, I do better AoE.
It takes a while to get. It takes a while to get into that pattern. So especially if you're not in it, even like that's what I found actually is if I was playing my warden for several weeks straight, my patterns would be just kill everything. People would be complaining that I'm killing things too fast and not letting them play, and it's just perfect. Tests. Otherwise,
apparently you're killing your internet too fast because I'm losing you. Bill, come back to us.
Yeah, Twitch is.
It's not. I'm seeing everything fine. I'm not getting any issues on my end. So maybe it's that SWTOR download in the background.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. Probably is.
Yeah, you know what? I do great with Lotro.
SWTOR.
I do great with large groups of things, and I heal myself and kill a bunch of them at the same time. But I get a big ass troll, and it takes me forever. And I'm like, okay, damage, heal, power, damage, and it's not the speediest thing in the world. But it is fun. It is fun, and it is epic, and it feels fantastic. I keep singing as I'm playing it. I feel fantastic, and I never felt as good as I... Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's what we have been playing in week, a little bit longer to talk about that Guild Wars 2 stuff. We do want to thank our wonderful, our amazing, our fantastic patrons over at our Patreon page, patreon.com/MMO Reporter. If you want to help us keep doing what we are doing, then please check out patreon.com/MMO Reporter and support the network and help us do what we do. Keep the virtual lights on here and keep making videos and shows for you. So if you want to support us, patreon.com/MMO Reporter. All right, Bill, it's time to head on out to the news.
From me, more than deeps is all you have to do to make the rain. Then you wouldn't have to say that you.
All right, Bill. We have got some news about a AAA MMO that is absolutely killing it on Kickstarter. It is absolutely tearing through its Kickstarter campaign. In fact, I'm going to start with that. Ashes of Creation is on Kickstarter. It has been backed with 17 days to go. 10,952 backers pledging a total of $1,955,874. It is, what is it? Almost three times its goal of 750,000. Absolutely crazy that we're getting this. This is near Crowfall levels of success in a Kickstarter. Crowfall did very well, but this game is absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
And apparently it's killing your internet as
and
well.
I almost kind of thought that maybe the age of yeah, I was thinking that I was just going to say that I started MMO was basically done. That we'd become kind of saturated with it, but clearly there's still some that you can actually impress. That you can still impress a lot of people and have it be a pretty significant boost. So I think that's what's happened here.
Yeah. And while I'm talking here for a second, you want to try and maybe kill some background processes or something, because your internet is being killed like its Kickstarter is. Okay, so yeah, it's like you said, it's a really big deal that such an MMO could have so much success. You'd think it'd almost be over. A couple things to talk about. First of all, it is going to have a subscription-based model, and I think that we talked about this before with Ship of Heroes, which canceled its Kickstarter with less success in the first 4 days than they were hoping for. When you are not going for a niche, I feel like it's easier to go for a subscription model when you're going so broad-based like Ashes of Creation is. So that's kind of a big deal, but it also makes me feel a little bit like a hypocrite because I was so down on the subscription model for Ship of Heroes, and I don't feel the same sense of dread when I look at the Ashes of Creation subscription model. Are you worried about this going subscription, Bill?
Oh, I'm disappointed, yeah. I don't think that's the way that it should go. Like, I still think that's a bad idea.
Yeah,
I understand it. I never hated it quite as much as you hated it, I think. But I still think it's not the right decision. Especially when they do have a lot of success coming in with their Kickstarter. And I realize that even a wildly successful Kickstarter could be a drop in the bucket compared to even a moderately successful subscription model. I still feel like as a new property that I want to, I'm certainly compelled by, because they put together a good presentation so far, and it seems like they've got a very interesting game package here, which we're going to talk about right after we finish bitching about the subscription model.
Yeah.
That's an impediment for me. Like, I'm going to look at that and say, okay, how this game has separated itself from the 20 other MMOs that I want to play, but it's also more expensive than the 20 other MMOs that I want to play. And is that what I want in my life?
Right, but we've also both talked about the fact that we don't like the reliance on stores in a game. There is no Kickstarter that is ever going to be big enough to fund a lifetime worth of maintenance costs for an MMO. The Kickstarter is only going to cover a part of the development costs. I wouldn't even say it's going to take care of the whole development costs. So it needs to make money somehow. And you either need to go box copy like Guild Wars 2 does. Now, first at launch it was just with the game, then now it's with the expansions. But or you need to have a subscription, or you need to be reliant on your shop. I still dislike the reliance on the shop in Lotro. I dislike it in a lot of games. It really throws me off. So. That being said, with it going for a big launch, a AAA rather than a niche, I think that it might be able to pull this off because it might have sort of the critical mass needed for that.
Yeah, and I've got a friend who's always measured new MMOs coming out, whether a subscription is worth it, and then the measurement has always been, what's the lifetime subscription?
Yeah,
and of course, if you go through the Kickstarter, and there's 17 days left in the Kickstarter here, if you're so enamored with Ashes of Creation that you want to be an Ashes of Creation backer for life, which we of course never suggest or recommend, because that's essentially the same as pre-ordering, and it's pre-ordering with an insane amount of money. So buyer beware. It's the $500 American tier to get lifetime. So you could just take the subscription right out of the equation if you want to drop 500 bones on it.
Right, and here's the thing too. We talk about that amount of money being crazy. Yet look at the amount of people who are incredibly satisfied with their lifetime subscription for Lotro.
I was going to say, if I get the amount of time and enjoyment out of Ashes of Creation that I've got out of Lotro in the past, that I've got out of Guild Wars 2, $500 is fine. Like, that's actually not that bad.
Right.
But that's also represents how many years of gameplay, how many hundreds of hours burnt.
Yeah.
And you're still rolling the dice to see if this is actually that good. Like, it may be a natural 20, it might be a 2. You never know.
There's no promises with a Kickstarter. It could go through its Kickstarter and it could absolutely die and you don't get your money back. This is not a pre-order where they have to give you your money back. You are giving your money to support the developer. You are not, and you happen to get this other stuff. You are not entitled to any of it.
That said, when you compare this to other Kickstarters that have rolled through other MMOs and that kind of thing, if I had to bet that this was a Kickstarter that was going to finish and have a product at the end relatively soon, I'd say this is a good bet, relatively speaking. I would never say 100%, so don't. This is not a 100% endorsement or anything like that, but the odds are pretty good. If you're looking to get a game at the end so that you get to decide whether it's good or not at that point, that's what we're looking at here.
And here's the thing. They are already at the point where they are giving away alpha codes for people to jump in and play.
Yeah.
Which tells you that there's enough there that there's some gamification of systems at the very least.
Okay. Right? Enough business. Let's talk game. Tell me about this game, Chris.
So I think, there's the typical stuff that comes with a game. There's going to be 8 races, 2 human types, 2 elf types, 2 orc types, and 2 dwarf types. 8 archetypes, fighter, tank, rogue, ranger, mage, summoner, cleric, and bard. A total of 64 total classes that you can have with combinations, because you're going to have primary and secondary things as well. But I think what's really, really interesting, and I think what really is going to set this game apart, is the node system. So the way that the node system works is basically the world is divided into these nodes. And when you go and you do stuff in any of these nodes, you are gaining experience for yourself and you are gaining experience for that node.
Now, let's back that up a tick. It's not actually the node. It's the area surrounding the node. The node is the special hunk of the map that you're trying to develop. But it's only a little tiny piece of that map. There's areas all around this node for you to either do crafting or kill monsters or whatever. We don't even know yet. We don't know what
crafting, resource gathering.
What's all gonna...
What's
all going to contribute?
Yeah, but it contributes to the XP of that node. And so you go in, you jump into the game, and you start doing stuff. And when you're in that area and you start doing stuff, if you do enough stuff in that one area, you are at one point going to have a camp of NPCs spawn. And that's sort of the level 0 of that node. And then it opens up new things that you can do in the area, and that might be kill quests, that might be crafting stuff, whatever that is. It's going to open up some new avenues of adventure for you. And these nodes, now it did say at one point in one of the videos where players decide to plant their nodes. So there may be some player input as to where these camps, and then followed by that by sort of forts, and then cities, and finally big, huge metropolises. There's going to be some input from players, and where you place it matters. If you place it in the middle of wilderness, well, you're going to get some stuff based on that area. If you place it by the coastline, maybe it'll affect what people get out of the sea when they fish. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And it's all the player contributions to that area. Whatever you're doing in that area opens up new content. So players may have community events to try and progress a specific node to get it to be a certain level, so that then you can have new content opened up. So that's kind of interesting. And there may be some fighting between people of where they want to progress. The community may split, et cetera, et cetera. And then so the other part of the nodes as well is there's going to be houses. So if you get in at the ground level and you are at the first basic city stage and you buy a house, when that node progresses to the next level, your house is going to progress along with the node. So if you get in at the ground floor, the start of the progression, by the time it gets into a metropolis, you are now having a mansion in that metropolis. So it gives you some incentive to get in sort of at the ground floor and really get in early. But the flip side of that is there's going to be land rushes when you have, because there's limited amounts of houses that you can have there. So that's kind of going to make a difference. We saw in what's the Tryon Worlds MMO from Korea? Arcade, thank you. When they open up new land masses and there's a land rush for ground to put houses down, that's a big deal. That is a huge, and that's something that the developers talk about every time that they do an expansion of landmass. But you know, as your city grows, you're going to get different caravan routes and different world bosses, etc. They're going to come up that wouldn't come up if you'd placed the node elsewhere or if a different area had been progressed. So it's quite it's like the Guild Wars 2 system.
I was just going to say
crack.
It's what, so yeah, when Guild Wars 2 was new and everything, this is a tiny, or it was a tiny fraction of what Ashes of Creation is trying to do here,
right,
in terms of that event system, where they wanted people to feel like you're shaping the world. If
right,
you do this, then the world will get better in this way. If you do this, the world, or if you fail to do this, the world will get worse in this way and have consequences. And like, it kind of sounds like they don't have a defined path that's going to be followed. Now that said, Guild Wars 2 kind of had the same thing, where they suggested that that's the way it would work.
They had the same pitch, yeah.
You'd have different paths, and whether you completed one set of events but failed another set, you'd create these forking paths that would create for unique experiences. That didn't work out at all. So
nope.
I mean,
but you did fight a lot of centaurs.
You get to fight a lot of centaurs, and events can be fun and everything, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near what they intended, I think, or what they suggested.
Correct.
So grain of salt here, I don't know, maybe we don't know if the development of this is going to actually wind up being a very on rails experience that's predictable, or if it is going to be wildly different. Like if the different regions are going to follow wildly different paths, if different servers will develop differently. Like it's, I mean, I'm guessing this can't all be just procedurally done. Like they have to have contingencies, and they have to plan this in terms of world development and the how paths fork depending on what player contributions are and that kind of thing. And hopefully it doesn't wind up being just this binary thing where everything is either a left or right turn, that maybe there's shades of gray and gradients and that have significantly different consequences. That would be a very interesting thing to see. And if they can do that, this is going to be a really compelling game. Mm-hmm. If it's just a couple of binary paths that you can sort of follow, that you're going to have like a very fixed number of possibilities, like you're going to have 16 different paths that you could possibly take. And it sounds like a big number, but in the end, if you know exactly how it's going to go each time, that's not very compelling. And then all we are is another MMO with pretty graphics and gathering systems.
Right. Hey, Bill, so, quick. There's only one $45 pledge package left.
It's compelling and it is interesting to me. I'm going to sit back, especially, and actually, you think about this for a second, or people can think about this, or they can call me stupid, whatever they want to do. If this is going to be a subscription game, and it looks like it's going to be a free to install, pay to play game, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit back and see. I'll get I'll sub for a month or two, maybe when it comes out. If it's compelling, I'll stick. If it's not, then I'll carry on. The business model doesn't really inspire me to get in early here and be a Kickstarter. It inspires me to be interested and follow it, but I'm not, but I'll decide if I'm going to pay after there's something to pay for.
You know, the one thing that was really interesting about the Crowfall Kickstarter was this middle of the road pledge package. All of a sudden, the Amber one gave you basically a lifetime subscription, 7 years of game time. And Crowfall's not going to be a subscription game. It's going to have bonuses, though, for having a subscription. And so that's what was really compelling about that one. It was all of a sudden you just got to this one tier and boom, you had all that game time, right? Whereas this one, it's $485 to get the cheapest lifetime subscription. So, and there's a limited amount of that. You say $15, Bill, if you go early.
Yeah.
So
I'm not ready to pledge a lifetime subscription to Ashes of Creation, but I am willing to say that I'm curious and compelled.
Yeah, they do have the $10,000 one too. 2 backers at that level. So yeah.
Good for those 2 backers. I'm so glad that their lives are that successful.
Yeah, I know, right?
That they can drop 10,000 bones on an MMO.
Yeah, I'm looking to see. Yeah, see, there was a $400 package with a lifetime subscription, but it's no longer available. The 400 and the 425 and 435, they just all sold out. So, anyways, I'm interested in this game. I'm looking forward to checking it out some more as it gets closer to release. And if you're into the Kickstarter thing, if you think this is something, it might be something to look at. But again, remind you of all the risks that come with Kickstarter, which is they owe you nothing. You are giving them money to make this game, and they are supposed to give you all the pledge rewards and stuff like that. But really, they could go under a month after, and they could take all your money and go on a Caribbean vacation. They really can. So just understand that. I don't get this vibe. This does not feel sketchy in any way whatsoever. But I always like to put that out there especially for Kickstarter campaigns, right?
Right.
Okay, let's move things along here and talk about Wild West Online. This comes from PC Gamer, and it's looking like it's going to fill the Red Dead Redemption Online space. And there's not a ton of details right now about the game. It's just sort of announced that it's going to be coming out. And they're going to be launching a Kickstarter at some point later on this month. Looks like a $250,000 Kickstarter, which is a fairly reasonable Kickstarter looking for an MMO like this. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And this is an underserved genre, I think. Right?
Yeah, it's very curious about how underserved it is. And I was kind of thinking about it as we were getting ready for the show, that it really speaks to how global an industry MMOs actually are relative to other games. Like you get a game like Red Dead Redemption, for example, well, really Red Dead Redemption, period, that was commercially successful and that kind of thing. It's a single player game. It's a console game, and it basically does well in North America. Like I'd be really surprised to hear if it actually does well in Europe or Asia or anything like that. And because it is a theme that, I mean, it might seem second nature to people in North America because it's their history and they've been taught it and they've learned it and that kind of thing. To people in Europe, it doesn't mean very much. Like it's sort of a romantic thing that they're vaguely aware of, but it's not their history. It doesn't resonate there. So MMOs in general, I'm actually bring this back to MMOs, honestly. If you can't get that level of resonation in a global audience, or you can't even, if you're already stacking the deck against a global audience, I think an MMO is it's got a huge uphill climb. So Wild West Online could be in for a bit of trouble. Now, the inspiration for Wild West Online was basically a development studio that was waiting patiently for Red Dead Redemption to do almost exactly this. They didn't. And now we're in this space where there's nothing there. And now kind of a little bit ironically, we're in a space where Wild West Online is going to come to completion roughly around the same time that Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to come out, and they're actually could wind up going head to head.
Yeah, I think they're going to serve very different audiences.
You think?
I do.
Because it really sounds like that's exactly what they're going for. Like the Wild West Online, I think, is intended to be a little bit more MMO-ish than what Red Dead Redemption multiplayer essentially was. And I guess people are operating on the assumption that Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to have a similar system instead of expanding on that, but we don't know yet. But yeah, like but it is compelling. Like, I have to admit, the first thing I thought of was how boring could this possibly be? So, like, unless they morph it into a weird amalgamation of fantasy where you've got monsters and that kind of thing, how much fun can you have playing cops and robbers in the dirt?
Oh, please. I think it has a lot of potential. I do want to hear from our listeners, though. If you think this is going to be a big hit, or if you think it's going to be a dud, let us know. Either send us an email at the end of the show, leave a comment, however you'd like to do that. We're going to jump ahead to the next story, talking about a RuneScape news leak sort of stuff. First of all, I'm going to say something at the end about this, my thoughts about this, and then I'll let our listeners and Bill and stuff pipe in too. While streaming, one of the mods, Shawnee, accidentally showed a new logo, Next Gen. It was shown very briefly, quickly switched screens, but didn't end the stream or mute his mic, while the other person who was on the stream with him because he was saying oh crap, using other words. I'm gonna lose my job, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose my job. The other person reassured him he wasn't gonna lose his job. I'm sorry, Bill, but this is totally and utterly not a leak. It was not an accident. This was planned.
I call 100% staged.
Yeah.
There's no way this was not staged.
Yeah. So good effort, RuneScape peeps. Good effort. Good job. Well done. But apparently there's something called Next Gen coming out. So, hey, on that thing, we got a press release from the folks over at RuneScape talking about the shifting tombs. For those of you who do play RuneScape, this is a skilling update. It's going to be a fast-paced skilling update where players can choose a god to pledge allegiance to, then a skill, dungeoneering, agility, thieving, or constructions, and then they can either split the experience from this skilling to all 4 skills or just one of them in particular, and then they can get secondary experience to crafting, rune crafting, prayer, and divination, or they can get coins. And this is a little 5-minute thing that you can do, and you can cooperate to complete objectives such as opening chests. So if you still play RuneScape, this is an update for you. Have you ever played RuneScape, Bill?
No.
No.
So I can't really speak to it. I mean, RuneScape is big. Like, I don't mean to dismiss it to say that because I haven't played it, it's not big. It's actually a surprisingly popular and huge and financially successful MMO. Like, it's one of the grandpappies that's done quite well. It's kind of in that same vein as Lineage, really, in terms of just how popular it is and its longevity and how surprisingly financially lucrative it is.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and
I can't say this is enough that it's going to get me to start. See, this is the other thing too. How could I can't start playing RuneScape now. That's how I feel. It's if I started now, I'm a decade behind everybody else, and there's too many compelling options that are kind of fresh right now where I wouldn't necessarily be a decade behind everybody else. And that's what kind of makes me feel sad about games kind of like Lord of the Rings Online, where people will look at that and say exactly the same thing, even though I don't think that one actually has the same scaling issue. I think a new player starting Lord of the Rings Online today is not near as behind the game as somebody who's starting Lord of the Rings Online right now.
Right.
That was kind of the comparison I had in my head. Don't mean to latch onto Lord of the Rings. There are some games that age well that way that a new player could jump into and have as compelling a starting experience as somebody who started basically at release, and other games where it's just going to be a chore and you're going to get lost in the shuffle, and the development curve is one that's not going to care anything about what a new player actually has to go through.
Right.
Anyway, whole lot of baseless speculation there, by the way. None of that is fact.
I think we can both agree, though, that the oops was not so much an oops.
Yeah, it was it was clever-ish. Like, it's
clever-ish, clever adjacent. It was different. Clever adjacent.
It clever adjacent. It wasn't a crazy CGI that didn't represent gameplay in any way. It wasn't loud music, big bass beats, and a crescendo music 2/3 of the way through the trailer thing. It wasn't your standard rote release that would have driven Harry either to rage or to sleep. So try something slightly different. That's fine.
Here's the thing, though, Bill. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, here we are.
Everybody's talking about it. So there you go. Okay, last thing that we're going to do before our quick mention is I wanted to mention my review of the Razer Ripsaw, which just went live just a little bit ago. And so in this video, I talk about Razer's new capture device, where you can have HDMI inputs, any HDMI source you can bring into your computer, and you can capture it, and you can stream it. You can record it however you want to, mostly for consoles, but I've also used it for my PC as well. A couple things this also works well for is if you have a second PC that you're going to stream from while your main PC is your gaming PC, you can offload some of that work to a different computer. I do want to say, I'll start right off with this. You can listen to the whole review to find out why I liked it, but this is easily the best capture card, the best capture device that I have ever used. It's USB 3.0, and it works absolutely flawlessly. I haven't had any issues. The biggest issues that I had were user error. So it works incredibly well for me. It's a really cool, sleek little device. It works incredibly well to capture the video. It is so low latency that I was actually able to play it through my XSplit window for a while. When I had my console plugged in, my PS4, I was playing through there. And usually with the last capture device I used was the HD60 from Elgato, which gave me nothing but problems. I could not do that because there was a 2 or 3 second delay between what was going on the console and what was showing up on the screen. So this is negligible delay. You could actually play off the XSplit window. I don't. It's got to pass through, so I can play through my monitor, and there's no delay there. This is just a really fantastic piece of hardware that I'm going to use the crap out of because it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It's absolutely fantastic, especially if you're streaming. And the aux and mic inputs on the front are super useful as well. So there you go. If you are interested in any sort of streaming, this is for you. Software is okay. Device end of things is great. It's fantastic, super easy to use. But the Cortex, the streaming software, is it doesn't do anywhere near what I want XSplit or OBS to do. So if you're looking for that, then you're going to stick with those. If you just want to stream or record your gameplay for your guild or whatever, it's going to be fine. Any questions?
No, I've never deliberately set up external streaming hardware, so I'm totally going to cede to your expertise here.
Yeah, it's the downside is it's expensive. It's $229.99 to get it. At, anywhere between $229 and $249. So it's a little expensive. I do think it's worth it for the ease of use. I really do think it's worth it for the ease of use. So, yeah, go check that out, everybody. Let's talk about our quick mention, shall we? Microsoft is working on a VR MMO based on a job posting. This is via Massively. From the job posting, do you love MMOs? Are you excited about virtual reality? Would you like every Xbox user to experience your design every time they use it? We are embarking on a blah, 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 blah. They're making a VR MMO. So, interesting.
it's interesting, and it's Microsoft trying to get into the bleeding edge of the MMO space, which reminds me of about 20 years ago now, when they were jumping into and they threw Asheron's Call into the fire of competing MMOs, and it turned out to be a third place finish in a 2-horse race.
Yeah, but
and that's coming from somebody who's got deep emotional attachment to Asheron's Call.
And it just died. It out-survived a lot of other MMOs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. So anyway, Microsoft doing it again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. Also, from the folks over at Dual Universe, giving us a dev diary. This one talking about ship customizability. I'm still not sure what to think about this game. I'm not.
Yeah, it's ambitious. It's doing the things that I want a game to do. But a lot of it is promises still. Like to watch the video and that kind of thing, there's obviously not a lot of complete assets. The space flight looks a little bit clunky. The graphics that are kind of zoomed out are a little bit awkward. The up-close graphics and the art assets look very nice. It's good ideas, and that's what I see so far.
Yeah, I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see what comes from it. All right, let's move on to what we are hoping to play this week. I've got a pretty short list here, and it's just going to be ESO because I just like ESO, and WoW, of course, and Lotro. And the one game I've been dying to play that I have been longing for is that Warhammer 40K game, that shooter. I really enjoyed it, and I want to get back into it, but I just haven't had time. I've had other responsibilities. I don't want to be responsible anymore, Bill. Don't make me be responsible.
Was that Eternal Crusade?
Yeah. Yeah. I really want to play it some more. I really do. All right, Bill. What about you? What are you looking to play in the upcoming week?
Well, I've got my standard Guild Wars 2. I want to finish the story season and do a little bit more of my legendary farming. I've been making some good inroads there. Probably like I said earlier, do the token World of Warcraft stuff. Just keep the ball rolling there. I am really intrigued. I want to try Fishing Planet just so that I can tell you how great it is.
Oh, Bill, I'm so sorry. So sorry.
What I've played this week, and I think I'm going to love it. I've got high hopes. I'm giving it a 5 out of 7 perfect score right now, without even having played it.
All right. Okay, Bill, if people want to get a hold of us, tell us what they're hoping to play in the coming week. Talk about some of the topics we've talked about. Maybe they think that Wild West Online will be the biggest hit since World of Warcraft. How can they get a hold of us?
Well, they can visit our website at MMOreporter.com. They can email us at mmo.reporter@gmail.com. You can visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/MMOReporter. You can tweet at either of us, either at MMO_reporter for Chris or at MMO Bill for yours truly. You can give us a call at 616-666-6778 and leave us a voicemail. Let us know what you think about this, that, or the other thing. We'd love to hear them all. Visit us on YouTube at youtube.com/MMO Reporter Network. Visit us on Patreon at patreon.com/MMO Reporter. Or if you're not a Patreon kind of person, head over to MMOReporter.com/support, and there will be a few other ways that you can help us out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bill. As always, an absolute pleasure recording with you.
Likewise.
And thanks to everyone. We had a few people in and out of the chat room tonight. As always, a pleasure hanging out with you and chatting with you as we talk about MMOs. Thanks to everyone for downloading the podcast. However you may consume it, we really appreciate you coming out. Please remember to come back next week. We'll really miss you if you don't. And of course, we hope to see you in game.
Don't forget about your old you need to cherish.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOReporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOReporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.